Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to Ed Up on the Ed Up Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode. Over 1,000 episodes recorded and released of the Ed Up Experience. I'm not going to tell you what number this is, but it's over 1,000. That I'll tell you. Co-founder and producer of the Ed Up Experience podcast, Elvin Freitas, continually berates me for putting any kind of timestamp on these episodes because sometimes we release them early, sometimes we wait, sometimes this or this happens. And when I say, this is a Tuesday on this date, he gets very upset with me. And I don't want Elvin to be upset. So we're just going to say this is episode 1,000 and something. And I'm pretty sure I can get away with that. Why this is so significant, this podcast in general is significant, is because we continue to try and give as much light and exposure to colleges across the country and give them the opportunity to talk about the great work they are doing to serve students in a very let's just say there's a lot of variables affecting higher education now. And I don't have to tell you these things. I've told you over 1,000 times, right? You know this. You're the audience. You listen. But, you know, as we enter a new year, I don't think that's putting a timestamp on things because this could be any day in the new year, 2025. I think I could say 2025. As we enter 2025, higher ed has a lot of challenges we have to reconcile with. We've got a list, value, trust being among the two most important, and the only way and put value back into the degree is to tell the stories of higher education. That's what we're doing here today, and I've got somebody to help me do that. Ladies and gentlemen, he is from one of our partners, our Ed Up preferred partners, if you will. He's Mark Wheeler. He is VP of Partnership Development at Education Dynamics. Mark, welcome to an Ed Up. Mike, how are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much, Joe, for having me. And congratulations on 1,000+ episodes. It's pretty impressive and certainly provides tremendous insights for all of us out here that are looking to serve these institutions in a meaningful way. So thank you for that. And I'm excited to participate in this conversation. And I'm not going to do the rookie mistake. I've listened to a few of your episodes. I'm not going to pull the trigger on the rookie mistake here. So I'm excited to participate with this wonderful guest.
Well done, sir.
Thank you.
The rookie mistake to our guest who's listening before I introduce him is that typically when I have a co-host on who co-hosts for a first time or second time, they'll go, and I'm really interested to talk with John today. And I go, you haven't even given me a chance to introduce this person. Of course, his name's not John, but you get the idea. We're going to bring him in now because he's doing some great work on the West Coast, as it were. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Dr. Brian Johnson. He's president at Warner Pacific University. Brian, welcome to an Ed Up. Mike, how are you?
Thank you so much, Joe, and glad to be on with you also, Mark.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Well, we are going to do that. And Brian, you know, I think the first order of business is for you to tell us a little bit about Warner Pacific University, you know, level set for the audience, for somebody that hasn't, maybe isn't familiar with Warner Pacific, WPU. What do you do? How do you do it? Who do you serve? Are you going to miss Ellucian Live this year?
I don't think so.
Exactly. So you might as well register right now at elive.ellucian.com. Ellucian Live 2025, April 6th through 9th in Orlando, Florida. Do not miss it.
Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content? That's right, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and subscribe today.
Yeah, well, thank you so much again for the opportunity. We are a Christian university. It's a small institution of around 650 students. However, we have about a capacity for 850, but even upwards with our online program. So like most small institutions, we still wish to grow. Beyond that, we have several federal designations, which makes us pretty unique, not only in the Pacific Northwest, but everywhere. Besides being Christian, we have a minority serving institution designation as a result of being Hispanic serving institution. That's a designation, and also Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islanders. So needless to say, beyond that diversity, we have approximately 80% of our students are first generation. So we pretty much check a lot of different boxes in service to our students. We have many rural Oregonians out on from the eastern part of Oregon who also attend our university, and we're located, as I indicated before, in the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon. So we're very excited about our mission, and in keeping with the name Warner Pacific, our sort of tagline is "With Purpose," and we believe that your careers fill your pockets, but callings fulfill you as a person, and you can link your career with a calling to fulfill great purposes. And so we hope that persons who fit the particular niche that are interested in what we have to offer would be excited about it.
Amazing.
Are you a pastor? Have you been a pastor? I heard that little bit of vibe in there of a pastor preaching there.
No.
Maybe you're just that passionate.
No. My calling is that I've been a professor, I've been a scholar, I've been an administrator, and now I'm a two-time president. And it just so happens that all that culminates into that unique vocation. But obviously, all callings are made sacred by the caller. So God bless pastors, but I'm not one of them.
Well, I like your passion, and you're passionate about higher education, which I think is it's always refreshing when I talk to college and university presidents, because it's like daily motivation, because I do this every day. Or like I talk to somebody new every day. Even when I get down or have something happen, I'm like, whoa, I just talked to Brian Johnson and he just lifted me up again. So it's great to have these moments. I'm selfish about them now as I talk to people. I'm like, oh, I got to talk to that person. But you talk about a calling, and, I don't think anybody who's listening I think it'd be easy to figure out that, and maybe not, but probably that smaller institutions have a different set of challenges than larger. Some very similar challenges, but maybe more immediate challenges, because a fluctuation of 1% to a school that has 25,000 students may not be as significant as that same percentage to a school that has 600. Can you talk about some of the uniqueness of running a smaller institution, both in the positive way and in the challenging ways?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, obviously, the most clear distinction of a small institution is its budget capacity. When it comes to you have to manage your resources, you have to manage your annual budget, which is largely consumed by, of course, at many institutions, salaries. We are fortunate that we have not had a lot of long-term debt, but of course that means you haven't been able to do as much on the facility side. Most small institutions should be somewhere around 70% of their employee salaries based on their enrollment revenue. And a lot of times you hover above that because, you don't want to lay people off or cut programs, but it's inevitable, especially in these times, in post-pandemic times, that has to happen. So, all small presidents, university presidents, are going to talk about the institutional capacity and being good stewards over the limited resources, ensuring that it serves your students. And beyond that, I will say that the institution, as far as the positives of that, though, is that when you are small, you can have a little bit more of an intimacy on the campus. I affectionately refer to our location on the side of Mount Tabor, located in Portland, Oregon. And I refer to our campus as somewhat of a shire. Students transfer in, they love a small environment, they have more intimacy with our teachers. which of course financially gets a little bit more complicated. Would love to continue to keep 10-to-1 ratios, but it's just not doable for small universities. Larger universities with larger endowments can certainly keep smaller teacher ratios, but unfortunately, in this day and time, you have to make sure that the revenue and the expenses of that works in terms of those faculty student ratios, which also include, we want to be somewhere around 18 to 20 to 1, frankly, because that's just a necessary expense. And, it's hard as a university president, especially as a former faculty member, because I love the academic programs. I love the work of teaching and learning in the classroom. But when you cross over, as some will say, to the dark side, it's a business model. And when your revenue starts to go down, your number one revenue stream is always going to be enrollment. And even with fundraising, fundraising isn't just fundraising to give to expenses, but it becomes fungible in securing resources so that you can sort of offset other expenses so that you can free up some revenue to better serve your students. So it's certainly positives to being in that environment, but it's definitely a constant struggle. But we do have a very nice endowment for an institution our size. We're very pleased and proud of that. And of course, a very low debt. And so, those things can be leveraged quite well. And then, of course, great stewardship and efficient management, which I have a great fiscal team and a great CFO.
Tell them like it is.
Mark, before I pass it to you, I do want to note, and this just comes from so many conversations, why it's so refreshing to talk to presidents from small schools, because they know their metrics really, really tight, right? Pretty much in any school, if you're looking, your ratio, your staff to student, your faculty to student, you want like 18. You can go to 25, and then you start going, well, how's the academic experience going to vary if you go from 18 to 25 to 30, whatever, but that 17 to 18 kind of sweet spot, because your margin is at a certain point, and that there's a certain number of students that pays for that faculty member. And it's those small school presidents go, I know exactly how many students that is for the margin that I need to pay the faculty member to give the students a great experience. And you can't, this course that has 3 students in it, maybe you just can't run that one, and you have to think of alternatives. So it's very refreshing, Brian. Mark, I'll pass it to you.
Well, I think piggybacking off of what you're just saying there, and I appreciate the yeoman's work that presidents do every single day to keep on task with driving sustainability. And I'd be curious to hear a little bit more about some of the innovative ways in which you're driving unique revenue streams, and perhaps even some of those cost saving measures that you've implemented to support and stay on task with your strategic goals, Brian.
Yeah, well, I think every institution has its own low-hanging fruit to leverage from. And frankly, at our institution, the smallness of the institution, but our federal designations, we have been very fortunate since my arrival to receive 2 federal awards based on these designations. These federal designations makes you eligible for some multi-million-dollar grants. And we've been extremely fortunate over the last 2 years to receive 2 multi-million-dollar grants. And so that's not just something to go to your budget. You can, shift some salaries over there. You can, we're serving our students, the unique students and their needs. So in some ways, the innovation has really come from just the organic nature of our demographics.
By the way, if I can interject before you go ahead with your next question, Mark, if you have one, not very often are institutions ANAPESI serving institutions, which many people don't even know in higher ed, don't even know that exists.
Right.
And let me see if I can get it. It's a Asian American, and Native American
Pacific
Islander serving institution.
Right.
Right. So maybe there are more out there, but it doesn't often come up on the podcast that the institutions have the ANAPESI designation, which is, I think, very unique.
Right.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was really, really helpful. And I appreciated you giving some context around that. I noticed, Brian and Joe, when I when I was reading through your strategic plan. You did some very unique and interesting things, transformative. I'd be curious to hear a little bit about if you could share some of the insights. You'd mentioned with purpose, and when I went to your site and I looked at it, and it really resonated with me. With purpose, Christ-centered university with purpose certainly makes a lot of sense. Can you talk a little bit about the impact on defining your identity, your brand, and your reputation, and how that marries up with your vision for the university?
Yeah, well, I am a person of faith. I am a minority, and I am a academic higher education leader and a scholar. And so, for me personally, it's a natural uh, um, fit for me. One of the key moments, which I didn't mention, was the fact that when you talk about innovation, it's simply mission alignment. You have to have mission alignment from the board. We have a religious affiliation. We're one of 4 Church of God universities. You have to have mission alignment with the president, the exec team, your faculty, your staff. And one of the most important pieces that I've had to do, I'm in my 5th year, is where are we? Where are you guys on who you are as a Christian university, who we are? Do we all have the same understanding of what that means? But that means we also are open enrollment in terms of our students. We allow any student from any background, racial, ethnic, or religious. However, as an institution, our posture, our employees have to sign in an affirmation of their faith. So I would think that the real work of leaning into your identity, and as you lean into that identity, there are going to be some people that may not support that, but you can be very open and transparent about who you are. People say, hey, I can't support the religious mission, but you got a lot of diversity there. We'd love to help those students with their writing, or we'd love to help them with funding for sports teams that we have. We want to help them. And hey, we have no problem with that. And but we do also recognize that some organizations are very careful about dealing and supporting faith-based institutions. I just got off a call and someone said, hey, the federal government gave you guys money. Did they restrict your mission? No, they don't restrict your mission, because these capacity building grants for serving these designations is always going to be something that the universities such as ours help the federal government to do. When you have these distinct populations where larger universities may not have as many, we need support in helping students who are first generation, or they come from bilingual backgrounds, and our meager budgets won't allow us to always do that. And then, of course, when it comes to identifying your niche, as I indicated, we have about 650. We believe we could take on 850, and we believe we could get anywhere between 11 to 1,200, and safely, including online and even beyond online. But the reality is, everyone may not see a fit for our institution. When we try to talk about purpose, it's the purpose for whatever it is that you are being called to. As I indicated before, there are people who are pastors, and if you are enrolled in a theology program, going forward to be a pastor could be something for you to do. But we've got nurses, we have educators, we have future scholars and future lawyers and engineers. And what we just simply want to do is affirm what their gifts are, and affirm what give them a quality education that they can go off into post-secondary or into employment and be successful at it and be prepared. But also a cultural affirmation of whatever their cultural background is, to instill in them the confidence that they can actually go forward and do it. And that's always a tremendous, and it ought to be the reason in many ways why nonprofit higher education exists, because we are here to help people fulfill their dreams, and particularly for first generation students or persons whose backgrounds might not have seen a middle class job or an upper middle class job. We want to be able to say you can be the first in your family to do that, and we want to help you get those tools to do it. And then, of course, this concept of vocation, again, it harkens back to, in many ways, the early 17th century and late 18th century as well. But this notion of voco, calling, to call, the vocation, it's not merely tradesmanship. It's, instead of doing what do what you are, so to speak. You're not what you do. And when you get aligned with what you are, you'll, be as excited as Joe hosting and yelling fantastic and doing these things. God bless him, because that's his, you have to love doing that if that's your temperament and your gifts and your calling to do that. And so everybody has to kind of find their place in the world. And we think we can help people do that.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
By the way, you didn't know I had the fantastic button actually ready, but I do. Brian, a couple questions for you. One organizational, and then maybe one a little bit more personal. But you talked about expansion. Can we get from 650 to 1,000, 1,100? How do you do that? Because the how is really what schools are struggling with right now. They might have capacity. Maybe they've seen enrollment decline. They want to come back. Is it, and so I'll just maybe throw some things out there. Is it different learning methodologies? Is it competency-based education? Is it expanding online geographically? Is it marketing investment? Is it, what is it? What's the secret sauce you think that gets you from 650 to 1,000? Is it the mission? And, is it, so give me your insights on the way you think about how you achieve that level of expansion.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's, I always call mission 1A and enrollment 1B. And again, it goes back to what's your niche. And what I discovered and what we discovered is, we're getting a lot of great students. We love all our students. We're not getting very many Christian students, which seems to be a bit of a contradiction. Phenomenon. In some ways, because and so one of the things, and speaking with board members in the church we're affiliated with in our sister institutions, hey, why don't you guys come to our school? And they pointed out some things about what we're not doing or what we are doing well, but it doesn't serve them. And so we've tried to address that, and we've developed partnership with one of our sister institutions to be able to offer some degrees and programs that we haven't been able to offer because we did not have the capacity to offer the unique things that they would desire. And then in other cases, it's just really going back to that constituency and saying, well, help us to offer the things that could be attractive to this group. If this is going to be your mission and everyone affirms what your mission is, you have to do it. And I think the best institutions right now that are growing are people that fall into their mission. HBCUs, which I'm a proud product of. I was formerly the president of Tuskegee Universities. They hang out their banner. We're an HBCU. This is our tradition. We're proud of our alumni. And essentially, you just want your piece of the pie. So I don't think that there's a magic bullet or a special sauce. You have to be who you are, and whatever that portion that's reserved for you in the market, they will come as long as you're being organic to it. Because as we all know, I mean, the University of Portland is different from our institution, and George Fox is different from the University of Portland. They should go to George Fox. They should go to University of Portland, but there are students who should come to us as well at Warner Pacific University. So that's how you, and at least in my mind's eye, how I frame it. And that's what we've essentially been doing. Then, of course, the marketing piece, and that's investment. And we have invested in some help with the marketing space where we can pick up in the social media grabs and the SEOs. And I'm learning a lot about how to track Google and a number of those things that we've had to do, which has helped to spur some enrollment there as well. And we've just started some of that work, and we're already seeing some early returns on that.
I like your style, dude.
Speaking of, you are the first minority president in the 84-year history of the university.
Yes.
And by the way, congratulations.
Yeah.
And I wanted to call that out specifically because I think that's always groundbreaking. And, when you break ground like that, you got to call it out.
Sure.
But I want to ask you if, and it's okay if the answer is no, because this isn't a yes or no question, and I want to think I'm leading you. Do you feel extra pressure? Is there extra pressure, or I don't know, because now you're trailblazing on behalf of people of color at this institution. Do you think about that? Does that not enter your frame of thinking? At Lucian Live 2025, we're going to explore the magic of innovation. We want to imagine, believe, and achieve. It's happening April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida, and we're going to explore technology, modernization, and
artificial intelligence.
Explore the latest technology solutions, discover industry insights, and make valuable connections as a global community. It's time to register for Ellucian Live 2025 at elive.ellucian.com.
Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, original content, invites to special events, and more? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Do you want to get all this while helping to sustain EdUp? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Yeah. I think it would be a little disingenuous to not believe that that's a part of it. But I also see myself in so many different spaces. I'm also first generation. One thing about being first generation is that those experiences crosses racial and socioeconomic. If you didn't have parents who went to college, it's going to be a different experience. If you didn't have parents with retirement plans or portfolio, once first generation, you're going to still be first generation. So you're going to be first generation in whatever you do. My first professorial job, my first academic book publication, my first administrative job, everything you're going to be a first in. And
now listen up.
Yeah, but uniquely as an African American and a minority, it's a special burden, but it's also a special preparation that has enabled you. I am no person who ascribes one group or one person as having more than the other, but certainly there's something to resiliency. At Tuskegee University, I always wrote commentaries on its founder, Booker T. Washington, who is one of my, if you want to use the term, heroes. And I spent a lot of time writing on his commentaries where his autobiography was up from slavery. And one of his famous quotes, which he is also ascribed to Frederick Douglass, he says, it's not how far you reach in life, it's the depths from which you come. So, and those coming from those depths as first generation, minority and all the different things, and we all can look at our own experiences and say, oh, you didn't have a dad in the home, or you were wealthy but you still couldn't spend any time with your family. We all have some deficits, but the reality is it frames you and it frames your constituency in such a way, and it frames who you are and what you're going to be, and you come to know yourself and know what you will do and what you won't do, in part because you know who you are. And so being authentic and organic to that is very important. But yes, of course, when you're the first minority president, it's also dealing with most higher education American faculties are going to be more populated by white faculty, and particularly at smaller schools, in part because most, like myself, most PhDs, African Americans in all kinds of fields, because of our rarity, you get to ascend to larger universities. And though they may be the only one at that institution, it certainly struggles in that part as well, but they might not have the struggle of lower salaries of being at a minority, a smaller university. So all those things play a role, but like I said, it's a part of the journey. And as I get older and keep moving forward, it's a journey, the one that I'd like to be proud of when all my work is done.
Epic.
Mark, over to you.
Yeah, I really appreciated hearing a bit of the background and the story of where you came from and where you're at today. And as a first gen, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on. Yeah, I think you serve an underserved population, a heavy minority-based population as well. How do you envision expanding your portfolio of programs to serve a wider population, and what do you think the impact will be here downstream as far as the various kinds of program offerings that you have in place?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the huge things that's happening in Oregon is semiconductor plants and the work and careers that can happen there. And frankly, when you talk about programs, you have to always look at your faculty. Presidents and podcasters and folks sit here and we can talk about what you want to do, but you have to have a faculty with a credential who can do it. So the very first thing, everything, like I'm a pretty straight shooter about these kinds of things. I've talked with some business folks and I said, hey, look, I got a whole lot of diversity, but I don't have the faculty. So if you support me in recruiting, say, a faculty member or recruiting, or you help me to build the program, I'll have a return for you because I'll have some students. And in this case, whether it's first generation or Asian American or Hispanic or African American, you'll also get some diversity in it. So I think that what has to happen when you think about any programs, it all begins with the faculty. And of course, as the president, you got everything under your belt that you have to do and attend to, but you have to also have an academic leader that can help recruit faculty, inspire faculty, still make tough decisions with faculty. The high performing faculty, you got to keep them and show them their value. And unfortunately, sometimes in a low resourced environment, it just becomes a matter of, hey, we got to put the resources behind the strongest programs and the strongest opportunities for the university to thrive. And, so that's how you do it. And you just have to hope that you can recruit faculty with the appropriate credential that can support what you want to do for the market and the return, and including that will generate interest in your program. And once you get that going, you can innovate as much as you like. Prior to my arrival, they were able to start a nursing program. Well, the nursing program has been the strongest program at the institution and generates the most students. So it's really we don't like to talk about the business aspect, but as you guys are clearly aware, the administration side, we have to look at that kind of stuff. And there's a hope, and I've seen many small private institutions do it, that as you grow your online programs and increase revenue there, then you might have more room to offer some programs that's not so revenue generating as opposed to speaking to the liberal arts college mission. But I think all liberal arts, Christian or otherwise, are suffering with, hey, we should be teaching history. We should be teaching English, philosophy, theology. We should be teaching all those things. But if students don't believe they can get a job in them, or they don't believe that grad school will get them a job in it, and parents are saying, hey, how are you going to make bread, it's hard to do that. But I strongly suspect that higher education will rue the day that we've abandoned the liberal arts. You might get no pardon to I'm a 17th and 19th century Americanist, so I'm an English guy, and no harm to my scientists and engineering friends and doctors and things. But they always say, there's a little quip about science will tell you how to do something, and the liberal arts will tell you whether you should do it or not. And so we're at a time now where obviously Silicon Valley, all these things are driving our society. But we also see, as I have 2 college-age students, and the new students who are there, they're not as typical anymore in terms of wanting, I want to go get a job. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to think about the world. They own TikTok and they got all kinds of ideas. They believe they can change the world. And that's what I believe the liberal arts does. It's a place for humanistic thinking that advances civilization. And it is my sincere hope that all university models, not just the elite ones who can afford to teach the liberal arts, but all of us are not just surviving, but we're thriving. And thriving means we should be free. Even as I had the experience of going to university to learn, I wasn't thinking about getting a job. I probably should have been. I did think initially about being a teacher, but I really had a pleasant time enjoying learning. And it led me into the field and the work that I've done. And so I say that to say, I believe there are more of us out there, artists and musicians, and we're cutting these programs, but we're going to rue the day that we've had to do that, and it's just unfortunate.
I had my undergrad in speech communications, and I was like, why did I ever take speech comm? Here I am doing a podcast.
There you go.
And talk.
That's no. Well, I can tell you though, that's part of the discovery of vocation, right? Like I believe it's progressive. Calling is progressive. Like, I went in thinking I was going to be an 8th grade teacher. Then the honors college guy say, "Hey, you ever thought about being a professor?" I'm like, "What is that?" "Oh, these are the people who teach me." "Okay, what do they do?" Then you start learning, okay, what do they do? Well, they research, they write books, they teach. Okay, let me learn about that. So, and then administration, what do they do over there? I see them wearing shirts and ties. I want to be able to make some opinions about what we should do with the money too. So I'm going to put on a shirt and tie. I'm going to do administration. And all these things culminated into a presidency. But the thing, what you're saying is I did not go in saying I wanted to be a university president one day. You did not go in saying
the most important conversation about now students wanting this direct ROI. They're consumeristic.
Yeah.
If I can't see, and I think the Gen Z students are really looking at their education purchase that way. I need to see this thing that I'm going to be on the other side.
Right.
I don't think it has value. And the narrative around higher ed has supported that. We've supported, I don't say we, but many in the ecosystem, higher ed or higher ed adjacent, have said, well, yeah, if you can't get a job, you shouldn't invest this money.
Right.
And you go, well, what about that second job? What about the 5th job? The 10th job? Maybe there aren't that many, but I can guarantee you that most people are making more in their 6th job than they were in their first job out of college because of experience and finding yourself and so on. Do you think we're doing a disservice to higher ed learning right now? The way the narrative is about?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's chargeable to the state of higher education in many ways. Combination of there are leaders who have been faculty before and learners, and there are leaders who have not been learners. I value the learning process as both a student and a faculty and a professor and as a scholar. And Generation Z, they are looking to make what is the end from the beginning, but everything in our history and in learning tells you don't always see the end from the beginning. And you also don't, many successful persons like yourselves, people on this podcast, did not predict where they will be exactly doing 20 years from now. And that comes out in reading books. All you got to do, reading autobiographies and reading histories and reading period does that. And in higher ed, I think, honestly, we have sacrificed many of our values on the how should I say, the altar of social media and the quick fix, and we're going to get it for you. This degree is for you. And we were very intentional about saying, listen, we're here to figure out for you to discover your purpose. I'm not going to be able to tell you that, but by sharing my journey with you about how I arrived at my purpose, this will be a place that you can go on your own journey and one day be able to share how you arrived at it. And of course, there will be a degree, and here are the practical things. You can go get a grad school, you can go to medical school, professional school, you can go into certain jobs, certain fields, but ultimately we want to build that thirst for learning and that thirst for understanding that commencement is not the end, but the beginning of a life where you're using these tools lifelong. I'm always going to be reading, writing, speaking, and thinking the rest of my life, regardless of the position I hold. And for it looks like you're going to always be speaking, whether you're doing a podcast or selling.
Wife, she'll tell you that's true.
Or selling some business. And the same for you, Mark. Whatever your gifts are, you're going to always be that person. So you need to sort of just settle into understanding who you are. So then when you see the right fit that aligns with where your gifts are and what you believe about yourself, then that'll be the thing that earns you bread. And I always tell people, I believe that in this big old earth, there is a place for you to go and be who you uniquely are. and it will enable you to take care of your family and yourself in whatever, to what extent that you need to be taken care of.
I love that. Mark, anything else from you, my friend?
Yeah, I just, life's a journey, right? And that first step into academia for me, I went to a faith-based institution, a liberal arts school, and I got, my degree coming out of college was a degree in business and accounting. Here I am, many years later. I won't date myself right now. Say it's been a while. And I have found my passion. And I think a large part of finding your passion is also understanding who you are. And that education, that journey at the beginning, I think has helped shape my path where I'm at today, to find my passion and to be in a career path that is fulfilling for me. And I think that's a message that I think is important. I think has been lost somewhat in recent years as the next generation starts to look at things like ROI on their investment of education. But yet, no, let's not couple from the importance of what liberal arts and a liberal arts education provides. So it's a component of I think all of our journeys. So.
And it's the American consumerism too. I don't put it all on higher ed. I mean, it's our, zeal. What do we call success? Who are our most popular people? Who, when we write narratives of a successful story, we know who we are putting on TV, the movie screen actors, the musicians and athletes, or the billionaires who, many of them have come from rags to riches, but many of them had a nice start in terms of wealth. So it's very hard in a society to tell someone that that's not the standard of success. And it's the only standard of success. We have to help the anxiety of our youth, Generation Z, even the anxiety of older persons, to understand, it's really important for who you're becoming. And that goes back to your notion of the journey.
What's next for WPU, Brian? What's the future outlook? Give us what you see and what you see for the future of higher education generally. Ellucian Live is taking place April 6th through 9th, 2025 in Orlando, Florida.
You just made the list!
Get ready for an unforgettable experience at Ellucian Live 2025. Join visionary leaders from institutions worldwide as we dive into groundbreaking ideas, cutting-edge solutions, and transformative best practices that will ignite your passion for innovation. This is your chance to connect, collaborate, and propel your institution into the future. Do not miss out.
Let's go!
Do you want to get invites to special events? Do you want to get exclusive early access to ad-free episodes, extended episodes, bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes episodes, and original content? Do you want to accelerate your professional development? Then go to edupexperience.com. That's EDUP experience.com and become a subscriber today.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see us continuing down the path we're on. I mean, we believe that in our marketing stream, our enrollment will continue to grow with our a new partnership. We believe a new partnership with one of our sister universities that can offer some degrees that we're currently not being able to offer online will help. And we also believe that grantsmanship, doing the work that many institutions don't do, or they don't specialize in it because they may not have the same demographics in their student body. So it's always great when a university can get in the habit of reaching out to secure grants to fund initiatives that they would normally fund, and then you can put those money to other uses. So I think we have a foundation. I believe in the foundation very strongly. And my hopes for higher education is the same thing. I think that there will be a level setting in higher. I know there's a lot of anxiety about, how we're going to make it. How do you get innovation? These things always level itself out. And I think it levels us out by the people, not just Generation Z, but there are so many people, not just Democrats now, but Republicans during the pandemic, both political sides of the aisle started saying, wait a minute, higher education, even though it's nonprofit, it's a huge business, right? Let's be honest. We're nonprofit, but we really are operating like a for-profit when we're talking about enrollment and numbers and the numbers and expenses and revenue. That's what it's become. But until the public sits up and say, what are we teaching? Why are we teaching that? What are our values? Yes, we want to teach everything. This is we're a reflection of the Republic. So Thomas Jefferson, whether you worship 20 gods or one God, in Notes on the State of Virginia, clean your yard up. So we know that higher education has many different people and many different beliefs, but what is the thing that we ought to really be doing? Is it really saying job after you graduate in the 5th year, or the tools so that by your 25th year of life after graduating, or your 30th year, you could be doing the thing that you love because you had the kind of experience, not just in the classroom even, but the co-curricular experience, the extracurricular activities experience, the chapel experience, the lyceum speaker experience, the people you were able to meet to help launch you in forming your own journey. And I think the public will one day respond to that. And many of us who might be considered old school and of a different time, which I'd like to think of myself as, even though I'm fairly young, but I hearken back to the origins of American education, and also it's where it's gone. And I think various commentators, if they were to look objectively, can see that we're missing a lot in our universities and its purpose. And you just have to sit and wait.
I will just kind of back that up, because for anybody that's been in this game long enough, I just go back like 8 years, 10 years ago, and there was a huge call for leadership. Like, there's not enough leaders. We need people that are going to be able to develop organizations. They need the skills, the soft skills, and so on. Then it went real fast to hard skills. And then we're going to end up training all these people with hard skills, going straight to job, ROI. And someone's going to come along and go, we've got all these people that can do this, and there is absolutely no leadership. We need schools that are going to provide great leadership programs, and it's going to swing back around again, because technology sometimes is driving that now. But, in the end, no matter what kind of technology we have, the people skills are going to rule. It's just a question of how.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there you have it, everybody. I would say philosophical. If this didn't make you think, I don't know what will here in the Epic Experience podcast. I do have to tell you that in true ceremonial form, I have to ask and go to the judge on how Mark Wheeler performed in his first ever co-hosting gig here. I'm going to go to the judge, and on a scale, judge of 0% to 100%, how did Mark perform here on this episode?
100%.
I thought he did pretty good. Not bad, huh, Brian?
2 thumbs up. Absolutely.
Hey, I will take it. That's my first swing at the plate, and I'll take 1,000 batting average right now. So
not bad, my friend. Well done. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you, everyone. He's Mark Wheeler. He's VP of Partnership Development at Education Dynamics, a great partner of the Epic Experience. Check them out if you're looking to grow your institution, Education Dynamics. And they've got a conference every year called Insights EDU, which, of course, in 2025, the Epic Experience will be recording live from Insights EDU. So you don't even know if I recorded this before or after, right? Because I didn't put a timestamp on it. And we're not going to put a timestamp on this 22-year-old I just interviewed right here. He's been in higher ed for 30 years. He looks so young, ladies and gentlemen. What is he going to do in year 20 at his 23rd year of life here?
No. Thank
Dr.
you.
Brian Johnson.
Thank you.
He's the president of Warner Pacific University. Brian, did you have fun today?
Oh, I did. And as always, and I really appreciate it. It's rare. I've been doing a few of these podcasts lately. And at first I was like, no, but it really does give an opportunity for me. It's all about trying to help educate the public. Presidents are often in the crosshairs of stuff. Oh, but then I think when you really sit and they really listen to the perspective of a president, and they would actually, Leo Tolstoy says, if you wish to know the truth, first of all, free yourself from all selfish consideration. So just put yourself on opposite side of that table and you look at the budget. And if you have to make decisions, ask yourself, what would you do? And
That's
so
right.
I think that by providing that, as opposed to giving platitudes about how great the office is, or giving any doom and gloom scenarios, that by just plainly walking people through dynamics, like a seminar, like a classroom, it'll help people to think. And that's the key. Like you said, it's not to force you to think, to make a decision, but lay out things so that you yourself can at least appreciate all the different aspects of what goes into decision making.
Well, I'm going to pay you for that promo for listening to the Edip Experience podcast later, because that was very well done, my friend. But that is exactly what we aim to do here, to give those like yourself, Brian, the opportunity to say, look, here's what I'm dealing with. This is the reality of the situation. And the reality of this situation is that you should listen to this episode and follow the work of Brian Johnson, Dr. Brian Johnson, president of Warner Pacific University. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just ed upped.